Okay. Okay. So we're live here, I guess. Whenever you watch this, if you watch this before the Kickstarter launches or after, this is Jordan Clark. I'm the writer of Elk Mountain, and this is Vince.
Hi, Vince Underwood. I'm the line artist for Elk Mountain.
Yeah, and we're basically gonna attempt to sell you on this project. I think we're both very passionate about and very happy about where it's going so far. But definitely
Definitely.
want to yeah, give people more information about the project itself. So the basic idea behind it um, is our hero Valor, who is kind of similar to Superman in a number of ways. Superman is theoretically an immigrant from another planet. Our hero is also an immigrant. He's from Panama. His parents come here hoping to escape some crazy things that are going on there during the time in the late 80s with the government. They come to attempt to give themselves and their new child a better life. So they come here. Valor is born here, but his parents unfortunately can't stay here. Um, and so he grows up in this town, Elk Mountain. He starts to develop these powers. And unlike Superman, though, instead of leaving his small town to go to a bigger city, sticks around. He kind of becomes the face and the hero of this town. Um, so over the course of the story, I think a lot of the things we're exploring is one, what is a hero's responsibility to the town they defend, and what are the realistic expectations of the people who live there? Do they expect them to be everywhere, always, all the time, saving everyone, no matter what's going on? And is it wise to really put that much trust into a single individual and give them that much power control, no matter how good, no matter how wise, no matter how kind of altruistic they seem? Obviously, we've seen over the last couple of years that putting a lot of trust and faith into just flawed individuals is not necessarily the best thing to do. But there's also another added layer of him being an immigrant and being in this position we're seeing now, in our country. People who have lived here peacefully. They work here. They're your neighbors. They're people that you interact with every day. But with a lot of the fear mongering that's been going on, these people who are just regular everyday people. Everybody is kind of giving them a second look, a second glance, and kind of really questioning them when uh, or they wouldn't have even
Yeah,
had an eye at them.
and that's an interesting parallel because especially when you talk about something like DACA recipients who are often going through college or college educated and are definitely without question contributing members to society and kind of get treated as this second class or like you said given that second look, and you have someone who's a literal superhero
Yeah.
saving lives on a daily basis, you know what I mean, whose benefit um, is unquestionable. You know, we shouldn't be looking at the value of this person based on where they were from, and so there's an interesting parallel in that where he's not he's not all these things that certain individuals in our country like to accuse the other of being without question, but yet he still faces these questions and problems and is maybe looked at as different and an outsider, even though he spent his whole life right there in
Others, whether they want it or not. Um, so it's interesting to see this kind of this situation where you've got somebody who's got basically all the power. One of the most powerful people, if not the most powerful person on the planet. But a situation where that power doesn't mean anything. that power isn't useful. You can't kind of punch, situations like this where, um, you know, your physical might, your physical strength can't really counteract a lot of the things that are happening to you. And I feel like those are always really the most interesting Superman stories, where Superman is put in a position where, his lasers and flying and invulnerability and all this stuff isn't really going to solve the problem for him. He's got a different way to kind of, still be Superman, still do those things that make you believe in him and inspire hope. But
Mm-hmm.
it's not a physical act. It's either more of just an act of goodwill, of good faith, of just his spirit that kind of gets him out of those situations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I guess I want to talk to Vince a little bit just about the process that he's been using so far, and kind of the inspirations behind some of the work that he's been doing, because I'm enjoying it a lot, and I feel like people will.
Yeah. So for me, obviously, we've talked about Superman, and that I think plays into a lot of the design work and Valor's presence, and certainly with the villains. I've taken an approach that's kind of, I think as we start to see as you start to see them, calls back to kind of that silver agey kind of Superman supervillain. In our first page, we meet this gambling themed villain, Red River Rick, and there's something about it that's just classic supervillain to me. But beyond those elements, for me, the book is a very human story, even though it's filled with superhumans and supervillains and some aliens and things. It's really about the relationship between Valor and this community, and to me that makes it above all else a human story. And so my approach is to, while fantastic things will happen throughout the book, I want it to feel a bit grounded at all times, and I want you to feel like this place, Elk Mountain, like you could be there, you could be amongst these people, um, and to really, through the art, through the story, insert yourself into it and kind of imagine, well, if I lived here in this town, if I was a part of this, how would I feel going through all this? And so for me, that's kind of the basis of the artistic approach. And honestly, that's a bit of basically what I do a lot of the time anyway. So it was part of what makes Elk Mountain such a good fit for me, um, and part of what initially really excited me about the project.
Yeah, and you get to, even in the first, I'm going to say 10 to 15 pages here, you got to flex a lot of different muscles. You got to do some character acting. You got to do some fight sequences. You got to do even a little bit of comedy. How's it been, just kind of going and kind of exploring that full range?
I mean, it's to me, it's been really great. Like for creatively as an artist to have all these different avenues to explore. Right, like I'm certainly never bored with it. You go from a real classic kind of superhero taking down a supervillain moment to having dinner with your parents to straight up creepy sci-fi sequence, and with a really intense villain, and so for me, and I hope that translates over to the reader, is I haven't been bored for a second because I'm getting to just play with so much, and there's so much happening in the book, and like you said, a wide range of kind of toys to play with. So it's been a lot of fun.
And we've got two more very talented collaborators. We've got Brittany Peer,
Mm-hmm.
who is doing the colors for the book, and then we've got I think everybody just kind of knows him as Haas. He does strip panel naked. He does panel by panel.
Eisner Award nominated strip
Eisner,
panel
Eisner
naked.
Award, yeah, Eisner Award nominated. Now,
Or panel like panel. That's right. Sorry.
yeah, but we've got a real talented group of people working on this book, and for the rewards for the book, we really tried to do less of the, you get a sticker, you get a button, you get a thing, and kind of lean more into making the book itself more of the actual reward. So got some behind the scenes stuff that we're working on, but also opportunities, kind of see how we do things. So you can get a little bit of a look at how I script things and how I write things and kind of my process going into stuff. You can get a look at Vince's style and some of the process that he had drawing the book. Brittany's going to talk a little bit about coloring and show you some of the techniques she used to color the book, and then Haas will as well show you some of his lettering techniques. So if you're somebody who's looking to make comics and are kind of curious as to what all goes into making a project like this come together, there's a lot of different rewards that I think will give you a fuller experience of the book, but also kind of give you some of the insights into some things that you might be wondering, well, how did they do that, or why did they make that specific choice at that moment, or even just kind of looking at my script and then looking at what Vince decided to do, his interpretations of certain things, and seeing how that lines up. Um,
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to kind of sharing that information with backers of the project, and um, there's a lot of thought that goes into every moment of the book, and each panel. And even though as a reader you kind of you're moving through it at kind of a quick pace, I think it's gonna be nice and kind of fun for people to kind of see, like, oh yeah, that's why that's like that, and there's certain parallels in layouts and things that I think are really cool, and I'm excited to share with people.
nice. I guess we can kind of wrap this up, and do you have any parting words for people? Anything that kind of the final selling
I
point?
mean, I think it's a great book. I think it provides, I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's certainly entertaining. It's got action, super heroic, super villainry, and all of that. But it's like I said, like I think it's a really human story. I think it's relevant and poignant, and I enjoyed reading it as it came in the script. I'm enjoying making it. I think it's going to be a blast for people. So I'm happy that if you're watching this video, and for your support, and I hope you enjoy it as much as we've enjoyed making it.
Yeah, and I'll second and third all of that. I feel like you know as a creator, it's there's certain projects that you work on, and you're kind of you just kind of feel it, like you like the whole time that it's coming together, you're getting really excited seeing more and more of it get put together. And I think for me right now, um, the story kind of, I think Vince can attest, it kind of it's transformed over the time that we've been thinking about it and working on it. And the place that it's at now, I think, is a really cool place. And it's something that I feel like quality wise, if you walked into a comic book shop and you saw it stacks up to anything that you could buy uh, from any other publisher. Um, and hopefully it's something, again, like Vince said, that is, it's poignant and it's relative, um, but it also has a message similar. Again, I mean, we invoke Superman a lot, but in the world that we're living in today, I think that some of the things that he represents in terms of hope, in terms of community, in terms of just generally being a good person. I mean, I think we take it for granted sometimes, just how good of a person Superman is, and and it, not to say that that's a rare trait that people have, but as you get older and you kind of collect friends and people around you in your life, I think you really come to appreciate the kind of people that are really putting an effort into considering other people, and I think that Valor kind of represents this hero who, again, being an immigrant, has a very different outlook on the American dream, perhaps, but also I think really values his place in the community, and isn't somebody who takes his life for granted, but takes others for granted. I think he's really appreciative of the life that he gets to live, and I think seeing that in a hero, you kind of forget. You look at somebody like Batman, and I mean, I think he enjoys being Batman, but like I don't like I don't know sometimes if he really enjoys being Batman.
Well, because to me with that character, he's doing that because he has to, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's a drive. I feel like Superman chooses every day to be that good person and
Yeah.
walk that walk and talk that talk, and it would be so easy for him to be anything else,
Right.
and even something as simple as a farmer, or a husband and a father. Like he has all these different avenues to walk, and yet he chooses to be that icon, that image of hope, and part of that is, yes, that's who he is. He was raised well, and he's a good person, but the reality of it is it's not easy for any of us to be that all the time.
Right.
And yeah, so yeah, I feel like um, with Valor, it's that same idea of yeah, he's a good person, but that takes work, that takes effort, and it should be appreciated.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's it for us, I would say. Again, the Kickstarter is launching, and Vince has reminded me of this because I think I put it wrong in certain places. It is Friday, May 11th. So if you're watching this after the Kickstarter, it's already happening right now. So you should probably go there and check it out. But again, we appreciate anybody who watches this video, who's taken the time to kind of hear us out, and definitely anybody who goes to the Kickstarter and backs us, or at the very least checks it out and says, hey, I know somebody who might like this, and passes it along and kind of spreads the word. So
Good.
uh, we get this thing done, and hopefully if you're watching this in the future, you're watching it with the book in your hand and and having enjoyed it. So thank you so much.